Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. We are recording on the back of another 3 points thrown away, or sorry, 2 points thrown away. It's not all doom and gloom entirely. But I think this is going to be another positive episode in the whole, I hope, on the back of what you guys done last week, albeit Hibs are making it rather difficult for us to keep the positive vibes up. Harry, August is coming on. Hibs are still to win a league game. How you doing?
Uh, f- Mate, if you asked me immediately after the game, I'd tell you something very different. I've calmed down. I'm slightly more more in tune with my emotions now. But yeah, still not 100% happy, but we're working up to it, you. We're working up to
Hmm.
it.
Craig, I don't know, was it a sort of another improvement, a small step on Saturday, do you think?
Bigger than a small step. I actually thought it was quite a decent step. Matching the physicality was something that I was really happy with, but ultimately in the exact same boat as Harry, having to calm down after the game because it was very frustrating at the end.
Super. Liam, had you recovered from your stint with the boys and Dave on Friday night by the time the game kicked off on Sunday?
Not really, to be honest, mate. Not really, to be honest. It's a weekend of very little sleep, so I'm still getting caught up just now. But it was, I mean, I recovered enough to watch the game. I was able to watch the game, and I kept my eyes open, particularly through the first 45 minutes, through sheer determination and will.
Well, as always, we've went out to our fantastic listeners, of which what we had over like 2,000 people tune in on Friday, which is a massive thank you shout out to that. Which I don't over was it over 1,500 sort of as you guys were doing it, which was yeah amazing. And the talking points are as expected. You know, we've got character, we've got individual players, positives and negatives. You know, a whole lot of different things. But let's start with our very own Dave Graham. Not with us tonight after Friday, but Kwon and Triantes both very decent, despite the daft mistake. We defended well. It would be nice, however, if we started trying to play football soon, though. And Dave has, with A3 senses, does has sort of what he has sort of summarized the entire fan base's feelings there. Harry, what was your general opinion on the game and what Dave said there?
I just so I don't steal all the talking points, I'll just kind of talk to one of them, and then each of the guys I think can talk to another if that makes sense for you. So for me, I'll start off with Kwon. I thought Kwon looked really good. I think he looked a lot more comfortable when he wasn't the kind of restricted that he was against Dundee. I felt that he was intentionally staying a bit more deep, whereas he had the freedom to just kind of roam up and down the pitch, and I think he looked a lot more comfortable doing so. As we touched on last week, I do think he's a very tidy player on the ball. I think he's the type of guy that you can trust. We've had a few midfielders across the years that have been inconsistent at best on the ball. But yeah, I just think he was a really positive burst of energy. So yeah, big Quan fan. I know Dave was saying that we needed to unleash him after had a couple of martinis, but I feel like the more martinis Dave had on Friday, the more sense he made, and that was probably the most sense he made to me.
Was it fair to say, Craig, that you know when that the lineup came out and then the midfield in general, it was a surprise probably that Triantis came straight into the starting 11, and then it was quite on paper at least a workmanlike midfield. Was that something you think we might see more often, or was it more, you know, the opposition, like you say, we matched them up quite physically?
Yeah, I definitely think we'll see it more often going forward after that. It was obviously a good success, worked really well.
Mhm.
When the lineup came up, I was surprised to see him coming straight in, purely just because I've got so used to seeing Hibs players being signed and then having to take sort of 2 or 3 weeks before they actually get into the team.
Mhm.
But to be fair to him, he came in after one training session, looked really sharp. His feet were good. Uh, and that was probably one of the things that pleased me most was the physicality. We matched them so well, which is something that quite often we'll go to places like Kilmarnock and get bullied,
Mhm.
but we stood up to it really well, so that was pleasing.
Liam, I can't remember if it was on pod or just when we were all chatting. Um, you know, not recording because we do occasionally talk to each other out with a Monday night. You
I
said
try
we're
not
not
to,
we're not
but I
yeah
do occasionally.
we're not quite I think it was yourself anyway that had said you weren't sure that Quan even was that number six. I know Triantis has got all the plaudits on the back of ES's game, but I thought Quan was sort of equally as good in that more advanced role. You've seen him twice now in sort of two different positions. Where do you think he's better based on that lovely big sample size?
Um, I think you'll probably get in the team as an eight. I think there might be certain games where we're expected to have more of the ball at home, where you could maybe deploy him or Newell as either a six or two sixes. But I think the majority of the time you'll get in teams in eight. The pleasing thing about his performance yesterday was, yeah, he did a lot of really good things in terms of getting about the park. Some of his passing was very good, but it was actually just nice to see a Hibs centre midfielder get a shot off in that position that he got a shot off in. The volley, he was quite unlucky, to be honest. It was a good strike. And that's just something that we've not had enough of in midfield, to be honest. We've not had goals really from the central midfield area consistently for a very, very long time. And if he could maybe even just chip in with half a dozen this season, that would be half a dozen more than we would have got otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's worthwhile. I know we've just mentioned Dave by name there, but Jane Alexander absolutely highlighted. Fortrantis and Quan were excellent. Jeff talked about his matching physicality in the middle of the park as well. I'm just going to come on to Jeff's point now, like, and we're going to try and avoid just regurgitating the whole game. So Jeff's made a sort of point around character or lack of it causing the late goals. Now this is sort of 2 weeks in a row. Let's say Jeff says we battled hard and all that, and you just is it a character thing, Harry, or is it just unfortunate in the two senses? Like it's individual mistakes. What?
It's no unfortunate. It's no lack of character. It's fucking brain dead. Like if a beta just doesn't make a stupid fucking decision, we win the game. They had no obviously Vassal in the first half definitely should have buried that sitter. But apart from that, they didn't do fuck all in the game. Like Bruce Anderson looked pish and he got gifted a goal by a beta being stupid. I think Liam's laughing at my pronunciation there.
Vassal.
I threw it there. I panicked.
Kyle Vaseline.
Oh Jesus! But yeah, no, for me, like a beta, it was the exact same thing we said last week. I thought a beta had a decent game. I thought for 8 to 8 minutes he was completely fine. Then and a player got in behind him, and instead of trusting his centre back, he's just wiped his legs away from him in the middle of the box. It's just like you can't keep gifting points away and stay in the team. Like we've now got two options that can start at left back, and David Gray's got a very easy decision to make to drop Jordan Abita, not because he needs to stay at the team for the rest of the season, but to show you can't effectively give away 2 goals in 2 games and stay in the team for the third game. Like for me, Abita needs to be dropped because that was just so unacceptable. It's literally thrown away 2 points.
Yeah, it's difficult because you don't want to criticize individual players, and I've seen.
See, the thing is for me, I don't want to hammer individuals and I don't want to come for them.
But this is an
if there's
individual
if there's no, but if there's no logic to it, but you can't watch that back, and I've
Yeah.
seen it back and just tortured myself by looking at it. There's just no need to do it. He's panicked again. The same thing he done last week. He panicked. He just needs to stop doing it. And I'm not saying that he's a terrible football player. As I say, he had a good game, but he just if he's going to run risk of once every 90 minutes throwing a goal away, he can't continue to stay in the team until he's got that out of his system.
I'm really glad that you came in there before I'd even close to finished my sentence, because I was going to say that in this circle, there's been I think quite a strong narrative probably over the last couple of weeks around how, you can't criticize individual players, or you can't, like, especially in that circumstance. For me, that's such a glaring, it is an individual error. Highlighting someone making an individual error isn't abusing them. It's, just saying what you see. There seems to be this fire like the fans need to do this, that, and the next thing. It's impacting on the team and stuff. I think, unfortunately, anyone that watched that yesterday will know that, and Jordan Beat himself will know it's a mistake. It's a challenge you didn't need to make, and like you say, it did cost us 2 points. Now, Craig, this is an interesting one. So Dave is talking about character and stuff, and he thinks it. Sorry, not Dave. Jeff's talking about character there. Now, our burner account down the slope. They just sent in still soft as shit. So where do you land? Do you think it is a Hibs are soft as shit? That's 2 weeks in a row we've conceded late goals, or is it not character related at all, and it is just that individual sort of thing?
No, I think we are a bit soft, to be fair. Actually, I do think we're soft, and we switch off too easily, and we're just plagued with mistakes. I think there definitely is a lot of this is sort of mentality and confidence. I think we're clearly not a team that's, and at the moment anyway, used to winning games. We look nervous towards the end of the game. No matter how well we're playing, we start to get shaky, and that's inevitably, well, not even towards the end. It's just mistakes plaguing us, absolutely killing us at the moment.
Mhm.
Hopefully, you've just got to hope that one of these games we're ahead, we can see it out, and that starts to build a wee bit of confidence. Maybe we start to get used to being in these scenarios and actually coming out on the right end of them. Because the last two or three seasons, it's been fairly consistent that when we get into these positions, we
So then,
make an arse of it eventually.
say regarding that then, Craig. So say, and we're skipping ahead here, and we will come to it later. But obviously, our next league game, St Johnstone. See, from that point of view, as sort of showing that we've got that about us. Would it almost be better that we won a tight game and seen it out than came out and like, was it, for the
I,
mentality wise, like, as opposed to, maybe coming out and putting 3 or 4 past them in it, not having that pressure like at all, if you know what I mean.
I see the point you're trying to make, but ultimately anybody would rather win a
Of
game
course.
by a couple of goals. And I think, but also, even yesterday, there was a point in the game where we should have killed them off, and we didn't. And so, if we come up against a team and we actually put them away, that'll be another sort of side of the mentality where that we've kind of got over that.
Yeah.
Right, that's we pumped the team now. Now we can move on and maybe try and win tighter games. But that'll come. It will happen eventually. We're not going to go through the season just hopefully not doing this every single week. It will come where we'll start to grind out results. Just hopefully sooner rather than later.
Liam, I think like Craig said earlier, there is, I know whilst it's been a fairly negative start to the podcast, which there always will be when you concede late equalisers, in back-to-back weeks. But like Craig said earlier, there definitely was positives to take there. And we did highlight the midfield, and the Janes sort of also highlighted Joe Newell in there having, that extra sort of level of quality in there beside him, potentially getting the best out of him. Now, Jane said there's lots of positives to take as well. Scott Craig, until the end, we were solid enough, stood up well, made some chances, but sort of poor going forward, just not enough creativity. What were the other positives in the game for you?
I think Big Marv was a positive. I thought he had a good game throughout, to be honest. Made quite a lot of interceptions, blocks, just did the basics of defending really well. I thought his positioning, from what I could see, different vantage point, obviously not being in the game, it's harder to sort of opine on things like positioning, but positionally I thought he did really well as well. And just a really solid performance, given that he's obviously been in for a fair bit of criticism for quite a lot of people, not least Harry, who's got in for him already after 3 league games. So I was pleased to see, I was pleased to see him have a good game, just on basis that his confidence was obviously fairly low.
Can I just jump back in there?
No.
I've been criticising him because
No.
he's been trying to play football, and there was 2 times in which he looked like he was going to pass it back to the keeper, and instead he opened his body up and he lumped it up the pitch. And if he'd done that the last 2 times, which is exactly what I've said I wanted him today, I wouldn't have complained about him. So I had complained about him, and he'd done a much better job, and I agree.
Maybe you should become first team coach Hibs instead of David Gray, and you can just give all the players instructions to them instead of the head coach.
Right, well,
What you
that
want
sounds
today
magic, mate.
versus what David
I
Gray
was
wants
half
today.
expecting Harry to turn round to be like, well, in the summer I had as many first team management experiences or something like that.
So was that. To be fair, maybe if Harry was manager, we wouldn't have dropped, what was it? I figured 17 points out of 38 league games, with equalisers equalisers or goals conceded in the last 50 minutes. So in a full league season, we have dropped 17 points from winning positions in the last 50 minutes, which I just wanted to shoehorn that in there because it's the first time I've ever done any bit of research for the pod beforehand. And there is also a strong chance that the mathematics on it is wrong because I did it on Google. But I just thought that was a really galling stat to have dropped 17 points in the last 15 minutes of games throughout a full league season.
And
doesn't sound good.
Sorry to interject as well there, Liam, but I think if I remember rightly from what you sent to us earlier about that was going back to Nick Montgomery's first game at Kelly. So if you even take it back a little bit further, the opening game last season we lost, didn't we? And with a late goal for St Mirren. I think did Livingston score late on as well? And like at the start, well, in fact, were both games not 3-2? Have I made that up?
I thought St Mirren pumped us on the first day last season.
Nah, it was
Nah, mate, it got
3-2.
back
We
to
got back to
3-2.
2-2.
Oh, right,
And then Alex Greaves scored.
I
Anyway,
thought they pumped us anyway.
Josh Campbell definitely scored against Livy because it was like he came off the bench and he scored a wee squaffy one. But They might even be 3-0, to be honest with you. But even there, you take over a bigger sample size and it just gets worse and worse. I can't imagine it's much better from under the previous manager before that. Anyway, we are, of course, live on YouTube tonight, and we have had quite a few comments coming in. Harry, Mike, Hibs, you like a wee complaint about it, but how fucking bad is their pitch?
Oh, we've got one. Assuming cup ties go in our favour, we've got one more game left on that pitch, and thank fuck, thank fuck. It's just so ugly as well. And see, not even just the pitch, just put the fans at the bottom of the stand. That's two things that give me gripes at Rugby Park. Put the fans so you can actually see them on the TV, and play with an actual football pitch, whatever the fuck they've got out there. Does man nothing.
Super.
You just try to wind me up tonight, teeing him up for plastic pitch ramps as well, man.
Well, Liam, I think I'm going to say
genuinely, the amount of listeners' hours have been devoted to Harry talking about plastic pitches in this podcast is not even worth mentioning. Like left-sided centre backs and plastic pitches give me strength.
That's what the comments are, mate. Don't worry.
Aki has said Chiantis and Quan are both now. This is even a bit technical. Chiantis and Quan are both 6s/8s in my opinion. Both got the on the ball quality to do both roles, so they're ideal for a double pivot. Now, am I right in saying that's a 4-2-3-1? Is that a double pivot? Is that what that is? Right, okay. And would that allow Mr. Molotnikov to maybe slot in front of them, which, he had a quiet game yesterday, but I think his best position is in the middle of the park as opposed to the left side. Could that be something we see going forward, Jank?
Nah,
hopefully.
Him or potentially a free agent number 10 or Josh Campbell, I suppose, would be an option in that position as well. I think the difficulty you'd get with putting someone like Campbell in there is you're almost putting him in for the purpose of winning second balls and what he does off the ball rather than what he'll do on the ball, which feels a bit negative as a starting point, doesn't it, really? But I know a lot of teams in this league deploy players in that position for that purpose. So if that's the kind of football team we're going to be, then so be it.
We've had another couple of comments. We'll run through them just now. Stuarty Boy is tuning in from Costa Adeje. Stuart, surely you've got better things to be doing on your holidays than listen to us. Come on. Like, I massively appreciate it, but come on now. Costa Adeje is a nice place.
Game of cards on the balcony or something, Stuart. Get a deck of cards out and open yourself a couple of Cruz Campos, kick back. You can still watch us while you're playing the cards, but just, maybe is playing cards.
Cards are what you play cards with. That's the still game thing, isn't it? And then Rob, Harry, this is one for you. Are you happy we finally signed a left-footed centre back in Jack Iredale?
So what I'm aware, because I have Liam's already identified that I like left-footed centre backs and Hibs don't. From what I can see, he's predominantly either played in the left of a three or played at left back. So I've literally not got any substance as to whether or not he's going to play left centre back for Hibs. If he does and he does well, I'm going to be ecstatic. But
so Mike's right in the YouTube comments, and the fact he went back to Rob and said, "If I know Harry, probably not."
Yeah, Mike is right with that. Yeah.
No, Dave, I'm not in a tent. This is just the rather weird shapings of I don't even know what they're called. Like came in your window jumpsuit and an extension. Don't know what it's called. But that's where my desk is, so that's where I am. Right. Anyway, back to the football. What do we need to work on in this international break, Harry? Do you think? No, we're yet to win a game. We're yet to keep a clean sheet. But don't just tell me about the defence. What else do we need to see?
It's kind of a hard one because I think we're still kind of finding our identity as such. I know it's a word that's been thrown out, and it's difficult to have an identity when you change a manager every 6 months. But yeah, no, for me, it's just players bedding them into the team and making them look comfortable. I think that, as Liam said, Ekpiteta, I think's looked better game on game. I know he's had a couple of mistakes in there, but I think he's looked better. O'Hara looked a lot better this week than last week, in my opinion. And then it's just trying to get the new players that we've signed that haven't really made featured yet, and hopefully get Bowie up to speed too, because fingers crossed he becomes a massive fix for us this season. I'm making Liam cringe a lot with these pronunciations, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway.
Hey, what about you? Is it all about getting sort of more training and more minutes? Well, no, there might be a bounce game, but more time into the legs of new players and that understanding to be sort of ready to go for St Johnstone?
Yeah, get some of these guys that are injured or kind of not playing at the moment, get them back, get them up to speed. I just like to see a wee bit more pace and potency kind of when we're going forward. We had a couple of counter attacks yesterday that looked a bit better. So I think one maybe we Chris Cadden maybe whipped it across. It was poor cross in the end, but I feel like we've not really made too many clear-cut chances in too many of the games. I'd like to maybe just see a wee bit more going forward,
Mhm.
a wee bit more
Uh,
fluency.
That is something that Ryan Smiley actually highlighted. He said he felt we were quite wasteful, in our sort of final decision still at times yesterday, and he highlighted that sort of Cadden one, Chris Cadden one, in particular, saying that he felt like he probably could have found corner Bowie, and you're looking at probably 2-0 in game set match at that point, which I don't know. There's still a lot that needs to happen. The ball still needs to go in the back of the net, but it was one of the half chance sort of things. It's a good moment in the game. Is there anything though, like a change of shape or anything, or that anyone would like to see coming out of this international break with a sort of different makeup to the squad? You're talking about there that we've signed a centre back that's maybe experienced in playing on that left side of the defence. As a left side of free Harry, would you be interested in seeing something different shape wise, or do you think
You know
we'll
what, Ewan,
stick?
let me stop you there. Ewan, would you be interested in seeing?
Absolutely,
You
I'd be
talk to me about
interested in
that,
that.
Ewan. Go for it.
I think that there's one issue with this, right? I think 3-5-2 suits the makeup of our squad down to a T. However, there is a player that we held on to in the window called Eli Yuan that I think has to play every single minute he wants and is available for Hibs. And I don't know exactly that he fits into that system. I don't think you get the best of him down the middle, but maybe you could afford to play him. Maybe he could be one of the two and sort of just roam about. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I think the rest of the team suits 3-5-2 with the two Caddens as wing backs. Iredale if he's sort of designed to be out there. I don't, Quan and Triantes sort of doing that double pivot role, as Aki said, sitting in there, and maybe you just put Ellie Yuan in front of them and go, off you go, lad. I don't know. I think it is a formation that historically has worked pretty well for us, under Alan Stubbs and under Neil Lennon. So I think I am always drawn to it. But I genuinely do think the makeup of the squad just now would lend itself to that formation. I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts of that. I've seen some faces coming from especially Mr. Fogarty there as I was chatting. I know he's opposed to a 3-5-2.
I just don't really want to talk about formations for half an hour, and I know you three would all indulge in that if I gave you the chance. I think, to be honest, mate, sorry, Craig, that's very a bit harsh
Catching
on
a
you.
stray there,
That's very a bit harsh on you, but these two, and if Greg was still here, he would absolutely love a bit of formation chat. I think, for me, the biggest takeaway I have is, do you remember that game a couple of seasons ago under Lee Johnson where he tried to play Yuan at wing back at home?
Who's that
Never a
again?
wing back.
I think Eli Yuan as a left wing back in a 3-5-2. I think I would definitely never like to see that again. I think he could potentially work as your sort of, if you're going 3-5-2 and you're playing one sort of main central striker and you've got another guy in a free role. I think that could potentially work, but I don't think it's a system to get it's the best out of him. I I generally don't love playing three at the back against most teams in this league, because I think if you have three centre backs, that generally means you've got someone who's less good on the ball in the team in place of someone who is better on the ball in the
Yeah.
team. I prefer to go with a more midfield dominant side, a 4-3-3. Having said that, I don't claim to know a lot or love formations. Generally, I just think it's about getting your best players on the pitch and try to figure out a way to do that. I don't think 3-5-2 enables us to do that, but happy to be proven wrong. To be honest, I think the thing that we should be doing during the international break is, I think this is an opportunity where we should be playing a friendly at Easter Road during the international break,
Yeah.
and fans should be able to go along and see, or even at East Mains, and just be able to go along and see some of the new guys play, because there's a lot of appetite and a lot of interest in going and see some of these new players. Not seen a lot of them. I just think that would be a cool thing to do and something to engage with, because let's be honest, there's a lot of guys who've got no minutes into those legs, not had much of a pre-season. Could probably just do them again in a wee friendly game. Be much more interesting than playing Edinburgh City at Meadowbank in late June, early July.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that makes far too much sense, Leo. That is genuinely a very good idea that is never going to happen, but I think that is a very
Even a
good idea.
testimonial, just a random testimonial. I would go and watch it.
Do you remember when when it been, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, when like the SPFL allowed you to like cancel a league game to play a glamour friendly? Like that's one step too far, isn't it? But,
And now they will only allow you to cancel a league game if I can play a game in Europe.
Oh, it was it no like did we do it actually? Did we do it to play Sunderland? What it was I don't
I
was
remember
that?
Celtic or Rangers doing it to play
Aye,
Arsenal. I can't mind.
might be wrong.
Can't remember what season it was, but I remember that just because the season started so early here, the view was you couldn't
Mhm.
get a glamour friendly. And then people realised that friendlies, for the most part, are a load of pish anyway.
I wonder if the League Cup maybe paid to that then, maybe moved the league season a bit further,
Mm.
but who knows? Anyway, we have got a few more comments in here in the YouTube. Kerr Whitelaw talking about how guilty we were last season and this season of not killing games off. So, Kerr, I'm sure you massively enjoyed Liam's statistic there, just to really embed that in your brain. Chris Finn says that Iredale's predominantly a left back is in terms of these sort of transfer market stats on there. And then Danny Stewart sort of touches, I suppose, there, Liam, on what you're saying. Looking forward to seeing Hoylett and Yuan after the break. Who would we be looking at potentially dropping to maybe see them into the team? I suppose the obvious options would be the wide players. Maybe both wide players did struggle a little bit at the weekend, but was there anyone else that you'd think they could come in for?
Ewan for Boyle just now, to be honest. And Hoylett, probably not for anyone at this stage.
Again, so do you get the best out of Elian on the right hand side? Do you know we're talking about shape and formations and all that there? Like, do you want your best players in their best positions?
You bring Bowie
Yeah,
in for
yeah,
Molotnikov, play Yuan left, Bowie
yeah,
right, and Miko up top.
yeah. I think
Mhm.
that's the ideal front three for me as well.
Mhm.
That cooks, by the way. That'd be class.
It fucking should on paper.
You
The
should.
thing is, they're going to need time to build an understanding. I mean, this is I'm a fucking broken record of this. But this is the trouble with doing the business so late. Is these guys haven't been together, worked on the training pitch. They've not played any live games together. But that would probably, I think, come late December, early January. You want them to probably play 20 or so games together to
Mhm.
build up an understanding. Because at the moment, what we're seeing is bits of individual brilliance getting us a goal yesterday, bits of individual brilliance nearly scoring us two worldies yesterday, but there's no patterns of play, there's no combinations, there's no understanding between the players. It's just one guy doing a little bit of magic here or there to get you something. We actually, in order to be a fully functioning football team, you need to build up an understanding on the park, and that's going to take time.
Well, talking about understanding and late business, we sent out a little sort of squad depth sort of thing that anyone could have put together, but we decided we'd do it. I'm pretty sure other people have probably done it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit now. And the window as a whole, boys. Obviously, you done that on Friday night. There was a couple of late bits of business as well. Looking back on the transfer window, Harry, what do you make of it, and what do you make of the squad that we've now got through to January, assuming um, that no free agents come in, which Malky Mackay hinted there might be.
Yeah, at the moment, I'd probably give it like B plus, C minus. I don't think it was an overwhelmingly great window, and I think that a couple of big issues I had at the start of it are still there. As mentioned on that live stream, I think one or two injuries to key positions, and I know you can't obviously just be like, oh, one injury and we're screwed, but realistically, if Big Mick goes down, then we've got an out of position player playing up front. Like obviously we can put Bowie there, but who knows if he's going to thrive there because he's never really consistently been a striker in his career. And I still think we're missing. Maybe Kwon can fill that void, but I still think we're missing a creative player in the middle of the park. So for me, it's two glaring errors. Hopefully, as mentioned, the players that we haven't really seen yet can hit the ground running and can prove me wrong and kind of quash some of those fears. At the moment, it does feel like we're light at left back, so hopefully Iredale will prove at least good competition. Because I always say, if you've got someone behind you, kind of chasing your heels, it'll make you play better. So for me, hopeful that a beat will step up with Iredale coming in, and yeah, I, if we can get a creative slash box to box midfielder in the free agency market, I'd be pretty happy.
Mm-hmm. Craig West, we put out on Twitter asking if people were happy with the squad or if there was any obvious gaps. As the out with what Harry's mentioned there in terms of maybe like a number 10 creative player. Is there anything for you that stands out, or do you think it's a decent squad?
Time will tell. I know that's obvious, but it's difficult. There's a couple of big ifs, particularly down that left hand side, like Harry's just highlighted. I'm just looking at it now, but maybe right wing, but I'd have Bowie in there ahead of Boyle just now. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, really. That is the bottom line.
Mhm.
I think we'll find out a lot about this squad in the next sort of 3 to 4 games, and we'll all know a wee bit more where we stand. But in terms of obvious holes, nah, just the attacking midfielder that's concerning me a wee bit. I'd like to see Rudy in there. I think that's where he's thrived in the games that I've seen him in. So I'd like to see him maybe utilised in there from the start of a game, see how he gets on. Not really seen his passing ability sort of tested too much, and I think maybe if you were to put him in there from the start of a game, you'd maybe be able to get a better idea of that.
Yeah, we did get some replies in on the back of the tweet there. Dave totally echoed what you said there, Craig, about trying to play Rudy in that sort of number 10 position. Tony Swanson, it's not earth shattering. First thing we need to do is work out a team as a team that can actually cut out the errors. A couple of players might well have come to the end of their time, and will you never play for Hibs again? Why should they want to? Now, look, I don't think we want to go into too much around Elie Yuan in terms of what happened towards the end of last week, but it was shite of it. Like there's no other. It's absolutely ridiculous that anyone would have to deal with that. But in my opinion, if the player is wants to play and is available for selection and is there, then he should play as much as he can. I hope he plays quite a lot this season. But generally, a lot of people just highlighting what you've already said about creativity in the midfield. But Kevin Christie's actually said he doesn't think there's a combination for a back five that would keep a single clean sheet in the league this season. I'm hoping out Kevin just for at least one or two. But we did get a really interesting retweet from JD Hibs. So, and I think I kind of align with him. So he said, we've done a lot of good work on paper this window. Experienced pros, most have experience in Scotland, and it was exactly what everyone said we needed. Still lacking a 10. Plenty of options across the board. Apart from that, midfield/centre halves pick themselves, rest up for grabs. Now, I suppose in that sense, if we did come into the transfer window, we probably felt like we needed 2 goalkeepers, 3 centre backs, maybe another option to Jordan Obita, a defensive midfielder, maybe a number 8. We definitely needed options in the wide areas, which we've got, and a couple of strikers. Obviously, Dylan Venty's moved on. Like on paper, it feels like we've plugged the majority of the holes that we needed, in my opinion. But what a slow start to the league does in bringing a lot of these players in after the season begins is it dampens your expectations. It brings your happiness and your thoughts down. We've seen some shakiness from some of the players already, and we really need to see these players kick on to make it ultimately a good squad, which makes it difficult. But Callum's asked and on Twitter and in the YouTube comments, what would our starting 11 be if everyone was fit? Now he has asked for all of ours, but I can already feel Liam's insides like dying if all 4 of us were to list a starting 11. So what I'm going to do is just ask Liam to name his if everyone's fit starting 11, and tell Callum what yours would be at this point. He's asked,
Fucking hell, I wasn't prepared for that. Like,
does it fit in Triantes and Newell? Our midfield problems are a bit secure at the moment, he said.
yeah, it's probably just the team from Saturday, but take Boyle and it's harsh on him because I really like him, but take Boyle and Rudy out, and put Yuan and Bowie in. I think it's that team, just based on what we've seen so far, and obviously based on no other movement. I'm pretty clear at this point. Martin Boyle needs to spend some time out of the team. It's given me, and I said this to you, I think privately, it's given me major Ivan Sproul second time round vibes. 32-year-old winger who's just lost a bit of yard of pace. And actually, when you take his pace away from his game, it makes him quite a lot less effective. Did look good against the league in the League Cup group stages, but I think you have to bear in mind the quality of the opposition. I just think he needs to spend a bit of time out of the team and actually might be better suited to being an impact player off the bench. I'd be surprised if David Gray makes that call in the short term, though, because it feels to me like David Gray's probably going to stick with the guys he trusts, and I think Boyle will be quite high up the list of people he trusts.
Yeah, I mean, well, he has been given this leadership role, hasn't he? I mean, I read into that as that he's vice captain behind Joe Newell. I think he did. Did he have the armband at Kelty Hearts? I think when Newell was dropped. Oh, rested. I think he did. I may be
Mm.
wrong, but I certainly interpreted what was said in the summer as that he is our vice captain. So that would suggest, if you want to coin the favourite tag, that he would be one of them. We've all mentioned free agents there. I don't know if you've all watched or listened to Malky Mackay's 20 to 25 minute update on the fact that we want to sign good people. With I'm just
The old mention fanger chat coming out again.
so I'm just wondering what you took from that, and if you had any free agents off the top of your head that the club could potentially attract.
Stuart Armstrong. It's never going to happen. Wildly never going to happen. But in terms of the sort of profile of player we've been talking about, he fits it absolutely. He'd be someone that you'd think would take up some sort of leadership role as well within the club. Someone to help to drive up the standards. He would be really high up my list.
Mm-hmm. What did you make of the update as a whole, or it's not necessarily an update, but the chat?
I mean, good on them for doing it, first and foremost, because I think people have been complaining there's been a lack of communication from the club. I didn't really think there was a whole lot in it in terms of content. I think the fact that he spent the first 90 seconds listing the types of transfers we've done and the members of staff who were in the building on that day was a very odd way to start an interview.
There was loans and exit loans and development loans.
It wasn't hugely engaging for the listener. It wasn't. I didn't find it to be hugely insightful. I think a lot of that was driven by the answers rather than the questions, to be honest. I thought it was good at least they gave us a bit of clarity around, well, it didn't really give us clarity, but they referenced the McCowan situation. I think it's good. I think clubs should communicate with, generally, I think clubs should communicate with the fans when the transfer window closes so that they can explain, here's why we've done what we've done. I just think the actual communication itself could have done with some work.
I don't want to shit on your parade, Liam, but apparently Stuart Armstrong's away to Vancouver Whitecaps.
What
Good
a
move for him.
loser, eh?
Good move for him.
Is that
Him
where
and Ryan
Ryan Gold is?
cooking.
Aye.
Yeah.
Back together again. They would have been together at Dundee United, eh?
We all laugh at that and go MLS.
Mate,
and
I'm
all that
out of
sort of
here, by
stuff,
the way.
But to be honest, see at the end of your career, if you just want a really good payday and you want to go and play in a piss easy league, it's much easier than putting up with what you get here. Like, do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a shit league. It's not a proper football. All the caveats. But
oh, by the way,
Harry
if you want something confusing, look at the transfer system in the MLS. Fuck me, it'll blow your mind.
Is it not like you get to claim a player, but then if someone else signs them, that you get money for it? And that was fucking stupid.
Honestly, it's mental.
Do they still have that designated player rule thing as well? It's mental. It's no real football. Like I said, it's franchise shite. But for a player, if he's going to be earning good money out there, nice way of life and stuff, I'll be at Vancouver, eh?
Bit cold.
Maybe I'd like try to get a move to Miami or something like that.
Just get yourself up the road, Stuart. Ignore those Vancouver idiots. Come on.
Hey, John McGinn rejected the MLS at the last point, at the last minute. I done him all right.
Who was it? Houston Dynamo or something?
Aye, Houston Dynamo.
You don't live in Houston. I've been to Houston. You wouldn't want to live there. Shite.
I was going to make a point there about how my viewpoint on things like that are totally different from Harry, but because see, if I was a professional football player, I'd be on at my agent every fucking window, like just get me somewhere with decent money and no fucking pressure and just have a cushy lifestyle. Whereas Harry's like, I'll play for 10 quid if it means I've got a good legacy.
I just think if you're in the I'll have that another day. I'll have that another day.
Well, Harry, what did you make on I don't know if you've listened to the interview, but there was a chat saying that we would look into that free agent market. Look, there is still players available, but is it just like you don't want good planning, good preparing? You don't need to sign a free agent in September.
Well, you told me, you rest assured me that at the start of August that you can still get your first options.
Never said first options, my friend. I said good players, as you would have everyone believe.
The thing is for me, I still think that we should have started our dealings earlier. That's the main crux of it for me. As I say, I think they're not massively glaring holes, and as you touched on, I think it's a really fair point. If we hold on for an extra 5 minutes against Dundee, hold on for an extra 5 minutes against Kilmarnock, we go into this break with a winnable game against St Johnstone and another week off after that, sitting comfortably in the top six, and we feel a whole lot better about the transfer window. But because we've thrown away stupid points with stupid individual mistakes, we go into it and we're feeling a bit dejected after. And again, you look back at the cup game, I'm not the type of person that thinks we should take the League Cup that seriously, especially group stage. You should just be winning those games. But you beat Kelty, we're likely in the quarter final of the League Cup right now. Obviously, depends on how the draw goes. So for me, as you say, hopefully this time in 2 months, we're looking back, the squad looks a lot better than it does currently. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's
No,
just so annoying, eh? If we
not.
literally held on for 2 extra minutes, or just don't give away a
Mhm,
stupid penalty against Kelly, we're literally sitting. We
mhm.
could have had a laugh at Hearts at the weekend. Would have just been good vibes, but no.
Just to clarify, you're still allowed to laugh at Hearts.
Yeah,
Like
true, true,
that's
true.
just like Hibs could be absolutely horrendous, and I will still laugh at teams that I hate. A couple more YouTube comments that have come in. Where will we start? N'Golo Grante has said Daniel Johnson or Ove Ejaria for free agents. I think they're both wingers. Daniel Johnson, I think, played for Preston once upon a time. Might have made that up, but that seems to ring a bell for me. Ejaria, no question. Was he at Rangers? Have I
I
made
was
that?
at Rangers,
Aye.
when they were in the Championship, I think, or maybe just come up. No, I think they'd maybe just come up.
Right.
He was a midfielder, I think, rather than a winger. But I think he
Mhm.
was a bit all fart, no jobby, as you would say, Ewan.
Ah, right, okay. That's just a good sentence. A couple of other points in there. Chris has said about Bursick. Now, I'm not getting involved here because I got my wrist slapped during the week last week for Harry and Craig for having the audacity to say he should be doing better. But he's just pointed out that he looks a normal size and then he stands in the goal and he looks about 3 foot tall. He isn't the most imposing goalkeeper in the world. I would have to agree on that. And I'm still yet to be convinced. And we've also got a wee question coming there from Jason Ladd. Criminal not, or a point, sorry, not a question. Criminal not to start a fit Bowie, in my opinion. Well, I think David Gray did say after Dundee that we're still managing his minutes because of a injury at the end of last season. But is he probably the standout player that you think we will see start against St Johnstone? I know we've talked about lineups and everything already, but is it getting to the point where we would be disappointed, really disappointed, if he didn't start against St Johnstone, Craig?
Yeah, definitely. I think, to be fair, I know what everybody was saying in the comments of when the lineup was out and moaning about Bowie, but if he's not playing, he's obviously not ready to go. I think we brought him in for 600 grand. He'd be playing if he was, or he'd be starting if he was ready to go. But like you say, there is obviously a management of minutes going on there. Perhaps something to do with the pitch. I don't know.
Mm,
But I'd fully expect after another 2 weeks of training that he'd be starting against St Johnstone. I would be disappointed if he didn't, and
mm,
I'd want to have communication as to why he wasn't starting if he didn't,
yeah.
and for them to come out and say, oh, he isn't fit, or it was purely a tactical thing. But yeah, fully expect him to be starting.
Yeah. One thing I've not asked you yet, did Joe Neal mean that goal? Or
No,
was that a cross?
nah, he was just putting into an area. I think you see that a lot when it drops back to that sort of area. If you whip that to the back post, maybe one of these ones where it just doesn't take a touch and goes in. But
Yeah.
it definitely didn't mean for it to ping it in the top bins like that. No, not a chance.
I really want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say like they've discussed that the keeper's always miles off his line with like Kukarevich is such a shot for the halfway line and excuse me, and then obviously Newell scoring that because the keeper did get caught right under it. Like it wasn't exactly great goalkeeping for the boy. It is unfortunate, Harry, that we didn't score Triantes' attempt off the bar or Kukarevich's halfway line effort. Not even just that meant we would have won the game, but of course you think they're equally as good as each other, as you sent a message in the group chat earlier asking which goal would have been better had they both went in. I'm
So
just
I
wondering if you could
pose,
explain
I
to the
pose,
world your
uh,
logic behind that one.
so I posed the question: Big Mick or Nectar, whose goal was better? Expecting the answer to be Big Mick, of course. And the reason, so see, the thing is for me, if that shot from Big Mick was on the ground and it was just like a regular kind of loft over the keeper, I think it would have
Mhm.
been a debate. But because he's hit it with the outside of the boot, it just would have been so, oh, if it
So you
actually
think
hit the
there's
back of the
no
net.
debate, but you've still thought you would raise it as a point of discussion.
Aye, because I think that you're massively taken away from what Nectar done. He literally picked up the ball just inside their half. He skinned four players, including a nutmeg, and then nearly blasted it in the top of the. Well, he ran past one that could have got
Three,
to him, by the
three,
way.
three players,
No,
three
they've
Kelly
undersold him
players,
on
and
three.
Quan, who he nearly fucking
I
mugged.
was about to
Oh,
say
see,
that.
Kwon could have died there. But genuinely, that would have been unbelievable if he'd hit that. Like, because obviously the only way that was going in was roof of the net. It would have been unbelievable.
Mhm.
Like, Hibs players don't do that, especially not Hibs holding midfielders. I think that would have been insane. You know what though? When he started going, it reminded me of Effie Ambrose. Like, you know, when Effie Ambrose would just pick up a head of steam and just looked like he was untouchable. He just looked like he couldn't be stopped. And then Kwon got near him, and Kwon must have shat himself. It was great.
See, now you said that, I've got like very vague memories, and I can't place of when it was, but I've got vague memories of Alex Gogic doing that in a COVID game at Easter Road.
Did he not
And I
score
can't remember who it was against.
He
Did he not
scored
melt
against
it off
Kelly.
the
No, he
melt it
scored
off
he
the
scored
melt
a
it off the
screamer.
crossbar?
He
No,
scored
I
an
remember the
absolute
goalie
screamer once, but I remember
scored.
Amaze as well. Like,
Uh,
because I remember
I
being on
can't
the
remember who it was
podcast
against.
slagging off G because he was raging that Gogic didn't do something that was entirely incompetent.
Oh.
So yeah, I think you're right.
Good old Papa, eh? No.
Players need to do that more often, though. But it
Aye,
just shows
100%.
you, just run at folk. Defenders don't like it when you just run straight at them. Big,
Mhm.
powerful guy like him. Just give it a go more often.
What is he,
See
Liam?
some-
He's an athlete.
He's
That's
an
what he
athlete,
is.
he is an athlete, and that helps. See, something we've not really spoke about is, do you think that any of the praise that we're heaping on the Hibs midfield yesterday had any the fact to do that Kelly only had two centre midfielders, or certainly two recognised centre midfielders in there?
I mean,
I think again, I don't think we really used the midfield much. I think they were a lot like I think Kwon was good at getting himself forward and getting involved in the final third, and I think that Triantis put it wide as soon as he got it, and it was good off the ball. But again, I don't think we really used the midfield much. Midfield, the midfield.
I'm not sure about using them. I just mean more the fact that we
Yeah.
were probably on top for a large part of the second half. Had a lot to do with the fact that
Well,
they had Europe midweek, and they also had two centre midfielders in the middle of the park.
I think the centre midfielder thing definitely is going to play its partly. I'm like, we've seen it under Nick Montgomery enough where, you know, we went into games with Newell and Triantes or Newell and Levitt or whoever, Newell and
Jago.
whoever else, Newell and Jago, of course, like where they could probably have had blinding games, but they just got run all over in a lot of games, didn't they? By having the extra body in there. And probably so it will have
Gets
played
just
a
the extra
fat, but
body.
if you can if you can have the right makeup of player in there and like you can dominate midfield. We've said it enough times. I think we said it when Mariah Welsh came in. Like he looked like someone that can cover the ground. Like there's of the good midfielders in this league. Like I'm sorry, Marco Hara's not a good football player. He'll just run and run and run and occasionally pop up.
That's harsh.
Nah,
he
I'm not
can
having
play
it.
a wee bit of
That's a
football.
random stray for no
Nah,
reason.
I'm
That's,
not.
Jesus.
that's no, I know what you mean in terms of like is maybe some of his on ball stuff, but he's got a good left foot on him as well. There's more that makes a footballer than just how they dribble and their sort of technique. Okay, like
Yeah, no, they
nah,
are. Yeah, look, nobody in this league's a fucking bad football player. Of course,
No,
not.
no,
Like,
no.
but like I think athleticism and being physically dominant is what will win football games in this league, and that was for me. If I look at the team that Hibs put out yesterday, we were talking about like a physicality and how we matched Kelly, but we had a lot of big guys in that. I think, but we by proxy now we are a big team, especially if that midfield three is what lines up. You know, Kukarevich can handle himself as well. Bowie can handle himself.
Rudy and Boyle are the exception. If you bring Yuan and Bowie into the team for those two, we then become a team where virtually everyone's 6 foot plus.
Mhm.
I mean, because the stature of obviously Rudy's more built, but the stature of him and Boyle in terms of their height, it really stood out yesterday when you're watching them just run along the team and they were at either end, and you're like, you got a midget on either end essentially, not quite midgets, but you know what I mean, small guys
Yep.
on either end. It's probably not PC to say that, so small guys, we'll go with that. Wee correction for me there, but no, I do think it's noticeable, and if that's the way we're going to play, then what I would hope to see is maybe us become a bit more dominant, set pieces, balls into our box, balls into the opposition box, because that's the thing at the moment. For me, he's not really falling. Just a wee quick segue. I know Craig will remember because he was there as well, but and you were there too, Ewan, actually. Do you remember last season when Nick Montgomery thought it was okay to go up to Forfar and play Jago and Levitt in the centre of the park, and we got absolutely bossed by Forfar for like 70
That
minutes?
was a brutal watch, that game. Like it was
I
really,
was-
really bad.
I literally was with Lauren's dad, who is a Forfar fan, but doesn't get too many games out because he lives down in North in Lanarkshire now. So we went up and he was standing with me in the Hibs game, and he was in the Hibs end, and he was just looking at me like, "Is this what you go like? Is this what you go and watch every weekend? Like this is
Yeah.
like I mean like he's literally standing there in the terrace with me, pissing himself laughing. Like look, and we came away from the game and like obviously we won and we're driving down the road and he's like, if they could have finished, they'd have won that game, and they absolutely would have. You know, like I know we won the game, and like was that what almost kickstarted like a little decent, almost little bit of form in January. I think did we go on a wee bit of like an unbeaten run then? But oh Jesus Christ, Liam, why would you mention? I was
We
freezing
are
cold as
honestly,
well.
that was so bad. That was so bad. Getting
Oh
actually
Jesus
played off the
Christ.
park by Forfar. Grim times.
Were they not like bottom of League Two or bottom of League One or something? Like,
Just about, aye,
oh,
just
Jesus
about.
Christ. So we had a couple more YouTube comments in there before we sort of wrap up. Mark said, good evening, people. Well, good evening, Mark, but it's going to be good night soon, I think. Kerr has went back to LUN there and just said, do you think if he is still wanting a move, then it might sort of see the best of him? You know, we might see some consistent performances maybe between now and January or the summer to attract more suitors. And I suppose that would be best case scenario for as his fans and probably the club. You know, you would like him to come in and try and prove a point and show the player that he ultimately is. And Rob Cairns, Nectar Chant is his least Sandro Tonali. Well, I just hope that he's no as prone to bet 365 and will only get a suspension. Otherwise, we might not be seeing him again for a while.
Tut, tut.
But
Tut.
Harry, something we highlighted when we done our season's predictions is coming next week when we're going to review our early season predictions. And you boldly told us all if we change too many players, then we're shite bags. So how confident are you that we might all change Josh Campbell for Player of the Year, top goal scorer?
Nothing would make me respect you guys more than that. So yeah, I reckon Craig will stick. I reckon Craig will stick because he doesn't know what to be a big massive fucking wimp on the podcast. So, Craig, there's that laid out for you, mate.
Thanks. And
Yeah,
yes, I was planning on sticking.
I think
I'll not be sticking, just so we're clear. I'll be making as many fucking changes as I see fit.
Do you know I'm Dylan Venti in though?
Dylan Venti was Liam's top scorer, right?
Josh Campbell, Player of the Year, and Dylan Venti top scorer, the other way around. There'll be some changes. I mean, based on, I don't think any of us really thought when the window sort of started, or when we got to where we are, that we'd make 11 signings either. In fairness, I mean that's in terms of volume. I know Mackay said it's something like 17 out. I don't know quite where that number's come from. I assume that's just including players that have been released or jettisoned for the youth
Yeah, it
team.
must be.
But 11 players and 4 loan signings, interestingly, when we said we weren't going to be making lots of loan signings. I thought that was interesting. Obviously, gives us a wee bit of a headache next summer, given that it looks like a lot of those loan signings, maybe all 4 of them are going to be starting players for us this season. So, yeah, interesting times.
Oh, it is that. It is that indeed. Look, we're going to end on a fairly somber point, but unfortunately, obviously on Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sol Bamba passed away. A Hibs player that we all sort of grew up at various stages of our life watching. I suppose, Liam, you were much more mature than the rest of us at that point in life, but or at least by age, maybe not by mentality, but yeah, really, really sad. And the first sort of, I don't know, the first one that really hit home for me, I think, if that makes sense. You know, I like different things like that can have an impact. Does anyone have any good, clear memories of Sol Bamba in a Hibs top? I have one, and it was his celebration at Falkirk. And I don't know if that sticks out to anyone. He just scored a good goal and just bolted straight to the dugout. It was glorious.
I mean, I'm disappointed that you used the passing of a former player to have a pop at my age. I think that was a bit of a
Sorry,
low
buddy.
blow, to be honest. I wasn't really loving the tactic. I mean, I think he was one of those players who maybe was signed with maybe not the best reputation. So I think people were didn't have high hopes when he came in from Dunfermline. But I don't think from memory it took him long to win the fans over. He was actually sent off on his debut against Dundee United, which I think some people probably forget, but for me, he was kind of defender I love, in terms of that sort of very committed, sort of ball and all defender, could play a wee bit. It was a really nice thing as well when he was at Hibs that he was essentially in the Ivory Coast squad going to the World Cup, which would have been 2012, I think. Sven Goran Eriksson picked him, who obviously passed away fairly 2010. Thank you, 2010. It's quite incredible. I think him and Didier Zakora. I remember watching him and Didier Zakora playing a warm-up game for the World Cup and thinking like the two of them were going to play centre back, and that was quite a magic thing having an Ivory Coast international playing for Hibs. But Aye, he was. I mean, he was some player, and he's gone on to have an even better career after Hibs. If you look at some of the clubs he's played for, it's quite an incredible CV, really, from a guy who essentially was just let go by Paris Saint-Germain and ended up at Dunfermline, which is very football manager-esque, really, isn't it, in terms of where he went? And then just latterly in the media, he was such a bright personality. I saw quite a few wee clips of him on Sky Sports News. He just had such an infectious enthusiasm for the game that you can't help but love. And I think I shared it on Twitter yesterday, the image of him in Liam Miller's shirt and that guy's photo was shared yesterday. I mean, that really hit home. Two young men, which is really, really incredibly sad. So I don't know if Harry or Craig have any reflections that are maybe happier than mine.
I was just going to say, I just remember him to be a big happy bastard, eh? Like, I just remember, like, he would always, like, obviously, I don't know if he would, but it always seemed to be there when there was, like, Hibs Kids events and stuff. And he always, like, even as a player, I still remember him. And as you say, like, in media, his whole attitude was just infectious. Like, he was the type of player that if we won, you'd want to hear what Bamba had to say in the post-game presser, just because he's just a big smiley guy, wasn't he, when things were going well? And is a absolute archetype of centre back that I absolutely adore. Just big, strong, physical, and if anything's within 5 yards of him, it is getting heated to fuck. So I love Big Bamba.
Anything for you,
I'd
Craig?
left silence there, Craig, in case you put his
No,
jump in.
nothing else to add. Nothing else to add.
Yeah.
Just was gutted to see the news. Big, smiley, happy guy, and yeah, it's really, really sad.
Yeah, a couple of comments that have come in there just from the people watching on YouTube. Rob Cairns, he served Sol Bamba down in Cardiff, an absolute gent. Had a chat with him about his time at Hibs, and he spoke so highly about the club. And Kerr has said that Big Sol remains the best centre back he's seen at Hibs. Well, let's not end the podcast like that, shall we? Shall we try and pick it up a little bit? Shall we?
Aye, you can what? We'll go completely random tangent because I can Liam absolutely hates it when I do this. But have you guys got any plans for this Saturday without football? Or are you just going to be doing anything?
We are in the process of making plans. We've got my little sister staying with us for a couple of weeks whilst my mum and that have fucked off to Thailand for 2 weeks, which was very kind of them. We got a teenager and a dog in exchange for a couple of weeks, so we're going to do something. Could well be Costco on a Saturday, which is about as exciting as it will get and about as traumatic as it will get, to be honest. But that's about it, my man.
Liam, yourself?
So my daughter is now 18 months and she can walk fairly competently. So naturally, the first thing I did was enroll her in football classes. So I'm taking her to that on Saturday morning. Get her started with the ball early. Unfortunately, at the moment, she thinks the ball, because she sees the ball when we're out with the dog and sees me throw it, she thinks the ball's for picking up and throwing at the moment. So she's essentially enrolled in rugby classes. So we're going to have to coach that out of her and make sure that she's focusing on kicking it. But I'm quite enjoying that, actually. It's quite a nice wee phase watching her just basically run around aimlessly and kick the ball, which, to be honest, isn't really that much of a change for a Saturday when you've been used to watching Hibs. So
has she got a wee Hibs top or wee Hearts top?
We're working on that. We're working on that. But it's definitely going to be Hibs. She had the Scotland full kit for the Euros. We went for the sort of light blue
Nice.
one rather than home one. So we're working on that. But she's getting into it. She's enjoying it. Every time she sees it on the telly, she goes, football, football. Which I think, to be honest, she's just at that stage where she just names things, But
you laughed once and she's remembered.
Aye, exactly. So, I think that's better. And then I've got a play date with her in the afternoon. So, I just trying to make the most of the weekend. I mean, I think we've already spoken about it, but I detest an international break this early in the season. I just think it completely disrupts the flow of the football. It's not good for anyone. Nobody really enjoys it, and I would ideally not really want an international break till October
The Scotland games aren't even on telly
at all.
No, I seen something today. I never clicked on the article. It was the Daily Record or something tweeted saying Scotland Nation League facing TV blackout. Don't think anyone's got the right shit.
Premier Sports will tip up with a last minute bid for 25 quid and a bag of balls, and it'll be both games will be on.
And they'll end up with Ivan Sproul.
Craig, yourself?
Nah, much be working, but I've just checked the fixtures and now to see what's on in the Nations League, and Ireland and England are playing, so I'll maybe tune into that one.
Get the tricolours, eh?
Get up, England, man. Being in the league below us, I mean, we'll probably get our arses handed to us, but get up.
Which team will Declan Rice and Jack Grealish be playing for in this one?
Don't know, because you'll send Harry into a rage.
What about yourself, Harry, down in London?
So we actually got this is a complete nerd thing. It was National Cinema Day on Saturday, and all tickets were £4, and that included the recliner seats in Leicester Square, which is one of the biggest cinemas down in London. So it was literally the posho VIP seats that you could literally lie down on. Class. £4 for that. So we've kind of got the cinema bug. There's a film called Trapped that looks so shit it'll be good. So I'm probably going to see what time that's on Saturday and get that watched. Craig does not seem amused by that.
No, I think it will be shit, mate.
Fair enough.
It sounds very shite. Harry, just one final point. Have you got a Christmas t-shirt on?
It's got a really funny pun on it. It says "Winner, winner, chicken dinner," and it's a pajama top. Oh, does it say, oh, for fuck's sake! Right, well, it's not as funny as I thought it is. But I like that because it's fun. So yeah, that's a good note to end the podcast on.
Superb. Well, I hope that was some light relief at the end of the podcast for you. Hibs will hopefully be back in 2 weeks' time. Well, they'll definitely be back, but hopefully be back in 2 weeks' time with a win, and we will start to climb the table. And oh, by the way, mind the gap.